Joining me today is Dr Tom Blenkinsop, School of Earth and Environmental Sciences at James Cook University. He'll be speaking at IIR's North Queensland Resources Development Conference on the 19th to 20th of July 2011 in Townsville. Tom, nice of you to join me today.
Thank you.
First of all, can you run me through the Economic Geology Research Unit and its impact on the resources sector, particularly in the northern Queensland region?
Its Economic Geology Research Unit was set up over 25 years ago as an interface between the economic geology research, which is done here at James Cook University, and the resources industry. So basically the idea was to make available the wealth of talent and expertise which we generate and are custodians of here at the university to the industry. And this is done through three main branches. Firstly, we partner industry in research projects in which a fairly economic focus is given to questions such as expanding ore resources and ore genetic models. And we've been lucky enough over the years to have a whole variety of expertise on different commodities to feed into that research program. These include, for example, formative work was done in the early years on epithermal deposits, low gold deposits, skarns, sediment-hosted base metals, iron oxide, copper, gold, and intrusion-related deposits, among others. So because of the expertise that we have here in the school in those various commodities, we're able to bring that to the industry through EGRU. So research is the first and main, I suppose, activity of EGRU. But we also, here at EGRU, play a very important role in providing training. Of course, as a university, that's primarily the undergraduates that we train, and we are attempting to train these so that they fit straight into the very high demand that there is at the moment for geologists in the resource sector. But we also offer training at a much higher level, postgraduate level, in two basic ways. One through a series of courses which we operate at the master's level, and some of these are designed to accept our undergraduates and give them a further training, and others are actually designed for continuing professional development of people who are already working in the resource sector. And I suppose it's a bit of a testimony really to our success that we find that those courses are very often populated by people who've already done undergraduate or other master's courses at James Cook. So we provide that professional training, and then finally we provide a higher level of training, of course, through PhD projects. And these doctoral projects are often very intense pieces of work which take 3 to 4 years, and often revolve around a specific deposit in which an immense amount of detail and an immense amount of data is accrued over that time. So the final sort of arm of EGRU activities, our interface with the industry, is through the conferences, publications and workshops that we run from time to time. EGRU's got a very proud tradition of these conferences particularly, and we attempt, and we have done on average, to run a fairly major conference once every 2 to 3 years. And when I say major, we use our very favourable venue here at Townsville to attract international audiences. For example, we ran recently the SGA conference, the biennial SGA conference here in Townsville, and we had attendance of nearly 500 delegates from all over the world at that conference. So providing these conferences is another way of getting out the research to the interested public.
Can you explain your work with the Geitmine Tenement in Tanzania? How did you analyse resources, and how did that work through geological mapping?
We have recently started this project, just in fact 2 months ago, with AngloGold Ashanti to basically expand the reserves at Geitmine by a hopeful 3.6 million ounces over a course of 5 years. Our role in that project is to start off in a 2-year period by mapping the Geitmine Tenement in great geological detail, and that is quite a challenging task because we've got a total of 332 square kilometres to cover, and a lot of that is not particularly well exposed. So we're going to be using heavily geophysical and geochemical data sets to assist us in putting together a sort of overall picture of the Geita tenement for AngloGold. Now that tenement lies in an area of Archean greenstones for which we have considerable interest and research experience here at EGRU, and we're tackling the problem by getting 2 postdoctoral researchers, that is a high level of expertise, to spend many months in the field mapping out every outcrop that we can get to and measuring structures, and a particular focus, I suppose, of that project is inevitably going to be how those structures control the gold mineralization. So through analysing the structures, through mapping them, we're going to be able to make some important predictions about the locations of future resources, which ultimately would hope to turn into reserves, which can be, in the first instance, exploration targets for the mine to go and drill.
Can you provide an overview of the work in iron oxide, copper, gold and regional exploration mine scale work at the Ernest Henry site?
Yes, indeed. We've had a long association with Earnest Henry Mine through MIM and now Xstrata, and that work has really been at least two scales. As you mentioned, we've got a regional scale view of exploration around Ernest Henry, and we have been following that up essentially by what is called prospectivity analysis, or mineral prospectivity mapping. We've been using the weights of evidence technique to take deposits such as Ernest Henry and a variety of other related deposits which all fall under the umbrella of the iron oxide copper gold family of ore deposits. We've been taking the existing distribution of those deposits and seeing how they match with various geological, geochemical and geophysical parameters. And once we establish the match using the existing and known deposits, we're able to take that a step further and predict where we might find other deposits which have not so far been discovered. So the end product of that is actually what we call a posterior probability map, a map which shows the probability of finding an iron oxide copper gold deposit at any one location. Now that's been very exciting because shortly after we produced our first map, the Rocklands project, located somewhere between Cloncurry and Mount Isa, announced a very significant resource, and we were delighted, of course, to note that that was exactly on one of our most prospective sites in this map. The other area, well, one other area which the map highlights is the Selwyn Corridor, and of course there's been a tremendous amount of activity there through the recent discoveries of Ivanhoe. So these mineral prospectivity maps are really a key method of exploring with geological input, and these maps are actually available to the public because they were funded through a cooperative research centre. So all of that is in fact now publicly available. So that's the regional scale. Now we've also been focusing a lot of work at the deposit scale at Ernest Henry, and that has encompassed pretty well everything from geochronology, dating the mineralization, through the structural controls on the mineralization, to a detailed understanding of the paragenesis and the alteration signature of the deposit. So all of those elements have been tackled in a variety of reports that we've been writing over the years about Ernest Henry.
How has the North East Queensland Seismic Survey assisted in understanding the region's geological structure, and how will this benefit mining, exploration and development in the region?
The North East Queensland Seismic Survey has been a really major event, really, in geological knowledge of Queensland, partly because there hasn't been a great deal of deep seismic reflection work over North East Queensland before, and partly because the quality of the data was outstanding, and lastly because what it showed us were some extraordinarily important major crustal structures which we didn't previously know about. Now, the most important of these would be major boundaries between crust of recognizably different seismic signature. And the general outcome of those lines is that we're now able to understand the crust of North East Queensland as assembled from a collage of different types of crust, particularly in the lower crust, where there have been whole geological terrains discovered which were previously not understood to exist. So the exciting thing from the point of view of resources is the possibility that these terrains may be fertile and may have actually been able to contribute to mineralization, which we now see at the surface. Now, another very exciting outcome of one of those lines was the discovery of a previously unknown sedimentary basin, the Milungera Basin. And it's a basin just a few kilometers deep, which has got some very prominent seismic reflectors at the base of it, which possibly could correspond to coal reserves. So it's a combination really of understanding the basic crustal building blocks of North East Queensland, an understanding which we never previously had, and more detailed results from the top few kilometers of the crust, which have given this seismic survey tremendous importance.
Tom, you're speaking at IR's North Queensland Resources Development Conference on the 19th to 20th of July 2011 in Townsville. What will be the focus of your presentation, and what would you like delegates to gain from it?
What I really want to put across to the delegates there is the role and functions of EGRU as I described in answer to your first question. And what I really want to do is to showcase EGRU and the opportunities which we have for doing important economic geology research here at James Cook. And one of the motivations really for making that presentation is that we're currently at James Cook undergoing a renaissance, I would have to say, a rebirth of economic geology. Over the past few years, there has been a slight decline in our levels of activity, really in response to changing staffing situation. People have moved on or retired. And we've now turned that around, and we're starting to make a number of appointments of new, young, energetic people in the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences. And it's clear that there's tremendous opportunities for these people, for all of us in fact, in EGRU, to become engaged with the booming exploration scene. Not just in North Queensland, although that always will be a focus, a prime focus of EGRU activities, but also throughout the rest of Australia and indeed internationally. We have a number of projects such as the one I just described to you at Geita in Tanzania in different continents, and we're always seeking to use those experiences to contribute to our knowledge of Queensland geology.
Tom Blenkinsop, many thanks for your time today. We're looking forward to your presentation in July in Townsville.
Thank you, James.